Welcome to Shaq's house. Shaq's house. That's our Shaq. You're now in Shaq's house. Welcome to Shaq's house.
What's up, Shaq Housers? How you doing? It's your boy Shaq House here. As always, I hope your week went well. Mine's going all right as well, too. Well, it's the start of a new week. It's a Sunday morning. So what we got today? Who are we going to be talking about? The Japanese, arrogant, semi-anti-American mutant known as Sunfire. An on-again, off-again X-Man, but very fiery temper, just as fiery as his powers. But what exactly can he do? And what exactly can people like him do? Check it out. Sunfire has the mutant ability to ionize matter, converting it into a fiery plasma state. Directing this power against solid or liquid matter causes his target to violently discorporate into traces of plasma, destroying it. So instead, he tends to focus the ionization effect through the gases in the atmosphere, creating nuclear-charged solar fire, similar to the plasma found at the very heart of the sun itself. By manipulating his power, he can generate a flaming aura around his body, direct pyrotechnic blasts from his palms, radiate varying intensities of heat and light in all directions, and fly by producing thrust or thermal updrafts. He can fly at speeds in excess of 300 miles per hour. At maximum level, he can generate flames as hot as 1 million degrees Fahrenheit before temporarily exhausting his power. His mutation also comes with various aspects that provide him with protection. A psionic force field that automatically activates whenever he uses his powers. It protects him from the radiation that he emits, from external heat sources, as well as a certain degree for physical injury as well. Sunfire is also capable of absorbing outside sources of energy to increase the potency of his solar fire even further. He can process sunlight and various forms of electromagnetic energy into his system. He has infrared vision, which enables him to perceive his surroundings in terms of heat patterns and radiant energy. The special suit of armor that he wore at one point in his career was designed for him by the Japanese government. It included solar panels that increased the rate at which he was able to absorb and process sunlight, focusing mechanisms on both of his wrists that fired his solar plasma with laser-like intensity at 195% of his normal power levels, and convection stabilizers on his feet to increase his speed, direction, and maneuverability in flight. Unfortunately, however, this suit proved to be his downfall. During the Fatal Attractions event, when Magneto unleashed an electromagnetic pulse over the entire world, Sunfire unwillingly absorbed the energy and released it, creating the equivalent of a nuclear detonation in the skies over Japan. Understandably frightened, the Japanese government placed Sunfire in quarantine and isolation, since the power surge had affected his ability to control his own power, and he was now constantly giving off radiation and the occasional undirected energy plume. A containment suit was designed that dampened his energy levels and caused him to vent his power harmlessly. His former X-Men teammate Wolverine eventually recommended him to Canada's Department H for the possibility of a cure, and one was discovered in a roundabout way. You see, a rogue scientist infused Sunfire with zero fluid, a compound designed to work with the alien physiology of the superhero known as the Jack of Hearts. Temporarily turning half his body purplish black, the zero fluid built up a charge of biokinetic energy within Shiro's system, and when that energy charge was ultimately released, he was cured and capable of controlling his powers once more. Later, Sunfire's legs were severed in combat with Lady Deathstrike, and he was severely weakened when Rogue drained him of his powers permanently. Then Apocalypse came into play and took it upon himself to transform Shiro into one of his horsemen, the new version of Famine. His legs and powers had been restored to him as well, and much like his Age of Apocalypse, Earth 295, his Age of Apocalypse variant, Sunfire can now become constantly aflame with solar plasma. In addition, Apocalypse has given him the ability to produce blinding flares of light which affect the brain through the retinas, stimulating the sensation of hunger. As a result, anyone flashed by his light bursts, they feel they're starving and begin experiencing psychosomatic hunger pains, cramping, and weaknesses. Some fun facts. He was originally an enemy of the original X-Men, having an anti-American attitude due to the bombing of Hiroshima during World War II. And the radiation from that bombing was responsible for him developing an X gene. He was recruited by Charles Xavier into the second generation team of X-Men for the Krakoa mission and left immediately right after that. Though he remained an ally of the X-Men for several years, later became a horseman for Apocalypse, joined Big Hero 6, and eventually came to Krakoa, where he was voted as a member of the first officially recognized X-Men team for the Mutant Island Nation. He left that post eventually, and he's currently on Mars, or planet Arakko. Of all of his costumes, I like his 90s costume the best. That's how I first knew the character. I don't see why the hate for all that. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's a cool costume to me. But anyway, to each his own. But how does he compare to similarly powered individuals? Well, let's take a look. Well, first off, Shiro's power, it involves a matter conversion effect. He transmutes the air around him into fiery plasma energy, which he can use in different ways. He can absorb sunlight and other forms of electromagnetic energy to enhance his power also. Now, somebody like Sunspot, he absorbs ambient heat and light, especially solar energy, from his environment and into his body, and then converts it into physical power, superhuman strength, energy blasts, and flight. When using his powers, Sunspot and the clothing he's wearing turn pure black in color, and small black spots appear in the air crackling around him. Now, the color black is produced when a substance absorbs but does not reflect all of the colors of light, that's energies, in the visible spectrum. Therefore, when Sunspot turns pure black, it signifies that he is absorbing energy from across the entire electromagnetic spectrum at a rapid rate. Later in his history, he learned how to use his powers to manipulate heat energy, and his flight was now a form of thermal updraft effect like Sunfire's instead of a thrust propulsion effect like it used to be. Firestar. Firestar converts ambient electromagnetic wavelengths into microwave radiation emissions, which she can then use to project intense heat and light, concussive microwave force blasts, scramble radio frequencies, and use it for a propulsion effect for flight. The way her power operates is that she just alters electromagnetic wavelengths and manipulates them for various effects. But Firestar's mutation was apparently incompletely formed, and so she was vulnerable to microwave radiation and its potential side effects like cancer or sterility. However, Dr. Hank Pym, he eventually stabilized her mutation to make her immune to its effects. Now, Neal, the third Thunderbird, he's probably the mutant that's most similar to Sunfire, as his power actually involves transforming matter into energy, specifically his own body in this case. You see, he converts the molecules of his body into solar plasma, enabling him to convert his eyes or limbs into thermodynamic furnaces that release heat discharges, focus pyroplasmic beams, shape plasma fields, and directed thrust from his legs for flight, or he can convert his entire body to radiate blinding lumens of light or raw explosive energy. Then there's Johnny Storm, of course, the Fantastic Four's Human Torch. He's basically a high-powered pyrokinetic, as he is able to generate heat and flames as plasma blasts, use it for thrust for flight, and he can even absorb and control external fire sources, and he has infrared vision. Okay, Shackhousers, that's what I got for you this week. Tune in next week. It's going to be a trifecta of Stretch Armstrong characters. But what kind of trifecta? Mutant or just regularly powered humans? Tune in and see. I'll see you then. Later.
Mansion, apartment.
Shack, house. Yes!
Yeah.